Hello to my many friends and also to my many enemies out there on YouTube. You guessed it, once again, is Roosevelt with another episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off. Roosevelt Sounds Off Part 21, I believe that this is. And in Part 20, I had discussed conditions in the black community, and I discussed black on black crime and just the things that we do to each other. The bad things that we do to each other. Not only, the things that white people are doing, not only the things that police officers and government officials and everything are doing, but I discussed in the last one the things that we are doing to each other and how we overcome it. But I wanted to, I didn't know I was going to do a part 2 to this thing until, today. But this is part 2 of that, so I'm going to continue on in that same vein. But in this one, I'm going to talk a little bit about black business and black commerce, describing, again, the things, even in black business, that black people do to each other. Now, what inspired me to do this video tonight, or very, very early this morning? I'm trying to get to this thing because I'm tired. I got to get up in the morning, but it's okay. But, I had to get this out. I had an experience today, this afternoon, should I say. I had gone to McDonald's here on the south side of Chicago on 65th Street. Normally I go to the one on 79th and Western, but I took the Western bus down to 65th and I went there. And I ordered basically from McDonald's, probably shouldn't be eating it anyway, as big as I am. Yeah. And my doctor's already worried about me already as it is, being 292 pounds. Telling me I need to lose some weight, and you never know, maybe I do. So I probably shouldn't have been eating the crap in the first place, but yet I digress. Now, I had gone in and I basically always order the same thing from McDonald's, and I usually get a daily double combo. And for all of you all who don't know, that's like a daily double burger, order of fries, and a Coca-Cola. So it's kind of like a meal combo where you get fries and a drink along with the sandwich. Now, normally when I go to the McDonald's around 79th and Western, I go to McDonald's even downtown. I normally pay, the most I've ever paid for was maybe $4.90 or $4.90. The lowest price I paid was maybe $4.30. But as soon as I get there today and the cashier tells me the price, do you know what she told me? The price was $6.07. And I just said, why is that? Because I've been to this McDonald's on 65th Street before, and I have ordered the same meal before, and it was never this high before. I mean, even a couple of months ago when I first went, it wasn't this high. And she's going to tell me, well, the rest of those kind of business, they're corporate owned, but this is franchise owned, and it's black owned. So, quite naturally, these are her own words, the prices would be higher. Come to find out, I'm not going to give his whole name because she didn't think it was wise, because me. Everybody who knows me and knows me personally on, here on YouTube knows that I'm a stickler for calling out people's names if I have to. So we're just going to call him Mr. W. A Mr. W, who's a black owner or a black franchise owner of this particular McDonald's, owns this particular McDonald's. And $6.07 is way too much for that kind of meal for what I feel. And that's basically what I want to get into. Because you hear a whole lot of black activists like Minister Farrakhan and others, especially one person who I was very well acquainted with when he was alive, the late Webb Evans, who I could personally say was a decent and good man. But the thing is, Webb Evans, he always talked about buying black. Everybody, it's not only Webb Evans, I've been hearing this moreover, down through the years, to buy black. And sometimes I am wondering, in my little feebled imagination, kind of benefit are we getting as black people to just buy black? For one, as you see by my story, that you find higher prices than everybody else. And number two, it seems like in black businesses, especially if they're black owned, black managers, they don't know how to act, or they don't hardly know how to treat you or talk to you, but yet they're taking your money. Like I said, this is another example of what blacks, what we do to each other. It seems like I have gone in and have gotten better treatment in other places downtown and on the north side from whites and Hispanics more than I have even my own kind. I have paid less price for everything, with whites and Hispanics than I have my own kind. This, I'm not getting. Because if everybody, all these activists and other businesses and business owners always tell us in the black community that we should buy black, I think that they should keep the prices low. Because come on, everybody knows that black people ain't got no money, first of all. And number two, maybe we wouldn't mind spending our money if some people, and I told you, it goes back to that part I talked about in the last one, where it comes down to respect. If the cashiers and people who work there learn how to treat us and speak to us like we had some dignity and respect. And it seems like in some, businesses and stuff, even if they're run by black managers, certain things that they don't want to do. Like my cousin tonight was telling me about, she went to IHOP. And this IHOP necessarily wasn't in the black community, but it was in one of our southern suburbs. And you know how sometimes if you and let's just say a group of people, you might go to a restaurant and it could be like like 5 or 6 of you all might go to a place and stuff. Instead of when the check comes, instead of putting everybody's meal on one check, if everybody's paying separately, you might ask for separate checks. That's how come. So that way, everybody would know what they bought and like how much they spent and how much they have to pay out of their pocket or whatever. But right up there in this IHOP, I'm getting to something. The IHOP is owned by a black person and it is managed by a black person. Right up there in big letters says no separate checks. Now, tell me, what kind of foolishness is that? No separate checks? I mean, to me it's something, if people are giving you their money, you're supposed to be able to do any kind of a thing that you can to make the experience much more comfortable and much more pleasant. Because you are getting your money. I mean, as long as you get your money, who cares how it's done? So no separate checks, everything has to be on one check. Why? Because you're too freaking confounded lazy to be able to split the checks and determine what everybody bought and what everybody in the particular party has to pay? Is that what's happening? Please tell me that that's not so. Because it seems to me that's what it is. Maybe a whole lot of us, we would be much more comfortable in buying black if people knew how to treat us. I mean, and sometimes that's the thing. I mean, us as black peoples have been so, I would have to say, because of the experience of poverty and slavery and Jim Crow and all these other things, we have been so beat down. So therefore, it's almost like even black people who you could sometimes work with. Because sometimes in a company, you can have a boss who might be white or might be Latin, who might treat you with some type of dignity and some respect. But it seems like anytime you got a black person who's over you in a supervisory condition or position, they treat you and they talk to you any kind of a way and all that. Because I think that blacks in authority, they have much more of that Uncle Tom slave mentality. Because basically, if you think about it, if anybody out there knows the history, it goes right back to slavery. Because, basically the system of slavery was like this. You had the master, who was white, and, you had the slaves, or what they would back then, used to call the field niggas. And then you had the so-called house niggas who stayed in the house with master. And usually the so-called house nigga was, brown skinned, or better still, light skinned. And they got much more easier jobs, and they stayed like under master. And then, but out in the field though, you also had a black overseer, a black person who was put in charge by the white man to keep the slaves in line. So anytime the slave who was the field nigger did something that was wrong, it's like the overseer could take out punishment on them and all of this other kind of stuff, and could do almost as much to them as the white master could do. This is the kind of mentality that I think that it is whenever you have blacks who are in charge. Be it you have blacks in charge in a company, even that's how come, and I said in one of my other videos, that's how come you always find, at least this is what I've always found, I'm not going to say all, but a whole lot of black police officers are much more aggressive than white ones. Because it seems like blacks in authority, they have much more of a position to prove. Because they could never be a certain thing and everything before. So now that they have this little title and this little position, they want to carry it to the max. They want to just constantly keep their foot on your neck. This is not supposed to be. I could understand something getting a position or a position of power and authority, and maybe you're proud of that kind of a thing, but and maybe you do have to do your job and keep every single thing in line. But at the same time, I feel that there has to be some balance. You can't go too far to the left or too far to the right. You have to stay in the middle. But that's what kind of thing is going on anytime you have black people who's in authority. When I used to work as a CNA, I used to have one nurse over me named Miss Craig. Whenever we'll forget her. She said because of certain things that she went through with blacks in authority, she told me she never ever wanted to work under another black person ever again. And the mother of the first girl who I ever fell in love with, her mother told me the same thing. She said she didn't want to work under a black person again. Because the black people who are supervisors, they carry it much more to the max. They're much more meaner and much more aggressive than white supervisors are. I even find it even when I'm taking the bus every single day. The black drivers are always much more aggressive than white or Hispanic drivers. And the thing is, it goes right back to respect. Because, even dealing in dealing with CTA drivers here in Chicago, even like 3 or 4 years ago, I ran into a problem with one. And this guy, he was black. Now, this incident, it took place on December 8th, and this was in 2010. I was coming home from Save-A-Lot on Halsted here in Chicago, and it seems like, I don't know what is wrong with me. It seems like it's like a bad luck charm or some type of bad omen or some type of black cloud is hanging over me. But it's like any other time, maybe, I can always catch a bus that's kind of empty. But every single time I go shopping, coming back home with 3 or 4 bags of groceries, it seems like the bus is always crowded. So the bus pulls up, and of course it's crowded because also too, another bad whammy on me is that I live near the mall here in Chicago called Ford City. So around December 8th, I want everybody to guess what holiday are we about to go into? Ding, ding, ding. Yep, you would be right. That would be Christmas or the Christmas season. So therefore, the buses are always a little bit more crowded, but I still had to go shopping. So everybody got on, and I'm the last to get on, and I could barely fit. The door just closed like behind me, could barely close behind me, and I asked the driver like, where was this bus going? Because normally our buses here in Chicago, they speak. As soon as the door opens up, it would tell you like what route it is and exactly where it's going. But I was just, trying to get my groceries on. I guess I didn't pay attention to the sign or really couldn't see the sign because some of you all know that I am visually impaired. So I asked the driver where was the bus going. And he didn't say anything. But a minute later, he starts doing this to me. Pointing at me and pointing to the fare box. Pointing at me, pointing to the fare box. And I guess after a while, I get very annoyed. And maybe I shouldn't have raised my voice, but this is just how it came out with me because I was already kind of frustrated. I said, look, I was like, I'm going to pay my fare as soon as I can get a hold of my pocket and get in my pocket to get out my pass. I was like, so just wait a second until I get out, until I get up there, please. And I did say please. And the first thing he says, and this is his words, not mine, so please excuse me. Motherfucker, I don't know who the fuck you think you're talking to. You better take some of that fucking bass out your voice, or you end up getting yourself fucked up. I'm doing my job. And I told him, I was like, there's a whole lot of ways to do your job. As soon as I got on the bus, I asked you which way was this bus going, and you didn't say anything. And he said, look, it said Ford City. Going to Ford City. Well, what's the matter with you, boy? You stupid, illiterate, you can't read or something? And I told him that I was visually impaired. And he was like, what? You're disabled? You're visually impaired? And you out here all by yourself? You don't have an attendant? Aren't you people, yeah, you people, supposed to have attendants? Now, the bus, it stayed full, very, very full. I mean, packed to the gills, up until we got to around 79th and Ashland. When we got to Ashland, more of the people cleared out and I was able to get a seat. So then I got on the phone. Oh, I thank God for cell phones. I got on the phone and I was able to call RTA and tell them what was going on. And I made sure I took my phone and took a picture of the bus number and recorded the time this happened. So when I got home, I spoke to a supervisor at his garage, and a couple of days later I filed a complaint with the National Department of Civil Rights, because for him to make a remark about my disability when I was asking him, you know, where was this bus going, was totally uncalled for. And when they got back to me, his excuse was, well, I didn't know he was visually impaired. Stupid, that's what I told you. And in the end, CTA ended up giving me, like, it was very small, but it was something. I felt kind of vindicated. I ended up getting a small settlement for CTA because of that. And when they went and they looked at everything and they fully investigated it, you know, most of our buses and trains here in Chicago now have cameras. So that whole, he was stupid for doing it, because that whole incident was caught on audio and video. Yes. He was very stupid for doing it. And this is another black person. But yet I had somebody in my family who's a minister, everybody wants to be so Christian and so forgiving. This is the problem I have with the so-called Christian church, is that some people in the Christian church don't think that you should fight for justice and all this other kind of stuff. You're just supposed to be so forgiving. Because I told her that my intention was to sue the CTA for as much as I could get. I mean, in the millions if I had to. And then I wanted to see him fired. And then I was going to take him and sue him civilly. And my a family member of mine who's in the ministry told me that she thought that might have been going too far. No, it's not going too far. Anytime you got a person, especially one of my own, who's going to treat me like I'm the enemy, who's acting like this. I don't care how Christian you are. It's a time and everything that, you know, you got to stand up and make people accountable for their actions. This is one of my own treating me like I'm the enemy. And I said basically when I did the video, it's just a case of respect. That we don't know how to act sometimes, and we don't know how to talk to, and we don't know how to treat one another. But yet, it would be like a major outcry if a white driver might have said that to me. But yet, because it's a black driver, I guess, you know, it's okay. Or, you know, some people, they want to look the other way. But no, I'm not. And I didn't. I kept on fighting until I got justice. Because it does say in the Bible to fight. Fight the good fight of faith. You're not supposed to just stand there and just pray. No, you fight. Wherever you see wrong, wherever you see an injustice raise its ugly head, you fight against it. You have to defend yourself. You have to stand your ground. And I'm proud that's just what I did. So no, if we learn how to act and we learn how to respect each other, especially like in jobs and in business, because you know that's today's subject, then maybe much more of us would feel comfortable in doing business with black people and buying black. I mean, the prices don't have to be sky high just because you're a black business. I do some business too. I mean, I shoot pictures and take video and everything whenever someone calls and requests. And anytime somebody has ever done that, I mean, I've never just charged anybody like a sky high price all because I could. And I've always tried to deliver the best work. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that it gives you the right to always want to do it. So now we just need to keep ourselves in check and to stand up and respect ourselves within jobs, commerce, and in business. If we could do that, that would be another way besides, preventing black on black crime and black on black violence that we see every single day. That will be another way that we can rise and lift ourselves up by helping each other within the black community, that we're willing to help each other and pull somebody else up. As soon as you come up, go and get someone else and help somebody else. Don't just, whenever God blesses you, it's not only for you, it's so you can help and you can bless others. So we can learn how to look up to, and we can learn how to bless others. That way we also would have stronger communities. Once again, this is Roosevelt with wrapping up another episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off. Be sure to hit me up in the comment box, and I hope that all of you all will subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch me next time for another episode. Peace and blessings to all of you.